What? Oh, are you... Thank you. Oh, shy your mum.
Play something relaxing, just for fun, whispered the angel on my left shoulder. Maybe try critically acclaimed roguelike, Hades 2. So, I did. For about 3 hours. This isn't stupid enough, whispered the devil on my right shoulder. Turn your first playthrough into a challenge run. So, I started a new save file and did exactly that. Yay, said the devil. Yay, said the angel, who was just another devil in disguise. On your excursions into the world of Hades, you'll meet a pantheon of gloriously gorgeous gods and goobers who can gift you temporary boons to buff you during the course of each run. But what if you only use the power of those boons to actually do damage? Well, it would probably look a little like this. Can you beat Hades 2 with boon damage only? Here's how this is going to work. If it does damage without the aid of a boon, then I can't use it. That means no weapon attacks or specials, whether normal or charged, and no charged binding circle. However, I can use boons to power up things that ordinarily wouldn't do damage, like dashing, sprinting, and casting the standard binding circle, which normally just holds enemies in place harmlessly. Environmental damage is allowed, as this is often unavoidable anyway, but I wouldn't be using hexes at all, because it feels kinda like a cheap workaround to the challenge, so yeah, that. The goal is to obtain the true ending of the game with all that entails. I did this run completely blind and didn't look up any info on builds, boons, or any of that stuff, so if I didn't use the "oh my god, best boon ever, why didn't you pick it, are you stupid?" or something, then it's not because I'm trying to personally spite you and your entire existence. Okay, enough waffle, time for some more waffle, but this time neatly segmented into chapters. Shall we? Let's.
To the abyss.
Hades 2 is a roguelike with a heavy focus on story and characters, in which you play Melinoi, in which you play Mel, daughter of the Lord of the Underworld himself, Hades. You know Hades, right? Hades nuts sure would look good in your... Moving on. The evil titan Kronos has captured your home and imprisoned your family, and you have been training in secret under the tutelage of your mentor, the witch Hecate, in order to defeat him. Oh, yeah, and he's your granddad. One hell of a family, huh?
Actually, that joke doesn't work because Hades isn't actually the same as hell, so you...
Every night, Mel ventures out to attempt to reach Kronos and kill him, which is where our story begins, with me doing something I'd spend a lot of time doing. Dying. This spawns you back in at the crossroads, your base camp, so I went to introduce myself to the rest of the gang. Monsieur Froggy, Lady Spooky, Madame Witchy, Mr. Broody, Sir Snoozy, Old Man Skelly, and Little Miss What the Hell Is Your Problem?
Oh, shut up.
Here's a quick overview for anyone unfamiliar. There are two paths Mel can take from the crossroads. An upper route, which is inaccessible at the start of the game, and a lower route, which I'll focus on for now. The first area, Erebus, comprises a series of connected rooms filled with enemy encounters that you move through, sometimes with branching paths to choose from. Each room offers some sort of reward for clearing it, whether this be a choice of boons from the gods, money, power-ups, McDonald's, more health, or just an excuse to check out Aphrodite's bits. The first room always offers up a boon giver before any combat, but for now I had no way to influence who actually showed up, and a lot of the boons are just useless under my run conditions, so do your worst, boys.
Return to Shadow now.
For now, I wasn't too concerned with story progress. My primary focus was farming upgrade materials, and figuring out what boons would actually be useful. Because, as my Italian nonna, who for the purposes of this anecdote was actually Spanish, used to say, no buono, no bueno.
No.
Whilst boons are temporary, there are a number of upgradable features at the crossroads that are permanent. such as the Arcana, the Nocturnal Arms, and the Perpetual Stew, which may or may not be safe for human consumption. For now, unlocking and upgrading the arms wasn't that important since I wasn't using weapons anyway, so I concentrated my efforts on the other two. The Arcana are a series of unlockable cards that you can equip to your character for various bonuses. Each card has a point cost to equip, and you have a points total called your Grasp, which in turn can be increased with the right resources. The so-called Stew turned out not to be called Stew at all, it was in fact called Ron. It was called Ron, Coral! And by placing various reagents into it, you can perform incantations that unlock new permanent features, some of which are just kinda neat, like shops or healing pools out in the world, and some of which are essential to progressing the story. So, to recap, test boons, collect materials, upgrade stuff, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold nectar, and wait for this to all blow over. Since I can't do anything that involves actually swinging my weapon or casting a spell, there were three main types of boon I would be looking for: dash boons, sprint boons, and binding circle boons. Most of the Olympians have at least 2 boons that fall under these categories, but as the boons you're offered are random, there's no guarantee you will get anything useful, so thanks a lot for nothing, Grandma, you stingy bitch. Of the 3, dash boons definitely felt like the worst, at least from the early game options. Smithy Rush looks decent on paper, but has a longish cooldown and is actually quite fiddly to use effectively. Passion Rush was fine, until I came up against the Squealing Banshees.
I won't be making that mistake again.
And Zeus's Thunder Rush seemed like the best one from the first bunch I found, in terms of raw numbers, although it does suffer from only hitting one enemy at a time. Next, Sprint Boons. Frigid Rush might add some slowdown effects, but for now at least I was more concerned about damage over time, and this thing is just not great for that. The only other one I found in my early attempts was Breaker Rush, and okay, damn, this one is actually quite good, and by itself managed to carry me to the first boss of the lower route. Hecate.
Headmistress.
Wait, that's not allowed, you're supposed to be helping me. Turns out she simply wants to test you to make sure you're ready for what's next. Also turns out, I was in fact not ready.
Melinoi, I held back against you out there. Even still, you could not surpass me. Do you know why?
Yeah, because my relatives give shitty gifts. More research required, this time on binding circle boons. Apollo offered me Solar Ring, which, for some inexplicable reason I chose not to take, so I actually can't comment on at all, because I might be stupid, although I'm not generally fond of boons that only do damage once the cast expires. Anvil Ring does good numbers, although I was unconvinced by the way it only hits 3 times. Yeah, I'm just weird like that. And finally, the only other option I was offered at this early stage of the game, Storm Ring. Ah yes, this thing fucks! Is what I would be saying if it didn't have one major flaw which I'll touch upon later. It's actually less of a fuck and more of a drunken grope in an alleyway next to a kebab shop. But with the limited number of boon givers available for now, it was still best in show. So, what about everyone else? Well, some of them still have handy passives that wouldn't make or break a run, but help a fair bit regardless. Some of them are completely useless for my build. And some of them come from Artemis, which I'm just mentioning separately, not because they're good for this run, but just because I think she's really neat. Sing it, girl!
That's it?
Here we go.
The test runs I'd done so far also meant I could start collecting materials to upgrade. So, here's a brief rundown. I cast my first incantation, Knight's Craftwork, which turned me into a German 4-piece avant-garde synthesizer collective. I mean, which allowed me to craft the Crescent Pick and Silver Spade, in order to gather minerals and dig up stuff. As well as the Tablet of Peace, which let me collect another resource, Psyche, from Lost Shades by doing the YMCA in front of them. I could now take the materials and perform some more incantations, including one to summon the Broker, because it's good to trade, one to summon the Three Fates, because I have no idea what I'm doing, and one to make some vegetable patches, because, I like gardening? Sadly, the Harbinger of Doom himself, Moros, showed up in place of the Three Fates to inform me that they weren't around, but that he could help instead by standing in a corner giving off emo sad boy vibes. Ashes are a common reward for clearing rooms, and these can be used to unlock new Arcana cards like Swift Runner, the Furies, the Messenger, and Wayward Son, which helps a lot right now as some enemies can do a quarter of your HP in one hit. Finally, I was now able to give delicious gifts of nectar to all my friends, and since everyone's generous when they're pissed up, I collected their keepsakes in return.
Your silver wheel.
These are talismans that provide very specific effects. You can equip one every time you venture out of the crossroads, and clearing a certain amount of enemy encounters with them equipped levels them up, making their effects stronger. Not all the keepsakes were that useful to me, at least not for now, but two that would be were the Ghost Onion, which restores up to a maximum of 50 HP, as well as probably smelling a little stinky, and the Luckier Tooth, which revives you once per night, both of which would help me progress further during this learning curve. Not much further.
A lesson learned, I trust.
Keepsakes gifted by your Olympian relatives don't grant a special effect. Instead, they ensure that the boon giver will appear first, and you also get the option to rarefy a boon before choosing it. Something I kept forgetting to actually do for an embarrassingly long time. A few runs in, I got the head honcho twice in a row, so I gifted him to obtain the Cloud Bangle keepsake, got Stormring and Thunder Rush off him, and made my way to Hecate, taking out this incredibly annoying mini-boss along the way, the Shadow Spiller. By the time I reached the Headmistress, I had managed to upgrade both Stormring and my max HP a couple of times. And, with both a dash boon and a circle boon, I was ready to take her down. This wasn't remotely close to the most effective build for Hecate, but once you break her fight down, it's actually quite simple to navigate. Her bread and butter are 3 attacks. 2 variations of sending out a shockwave at you, which you can just dodge around, and this slow expanding AoE that you just move away from. As she goes through her phases, she'll pull out other attacks to intersperse, like cloning herself, doing some fairly easily avoidable bullet hole stuff, summoning minions, or, the most annoying one, turning you into a sheep for 10 seconds. Which can be dodged, but I wasn't familiar with the timing yet. Thing is, a lot of her attacks leave her rooted to the spot, so you can mostly just drop a binding circle on her and run away as it eats away her HP. Hecate rewarded me with some burnt wood because she's weird, and I moved onwards to the next area, Oceanus. A lot of the rooms here are smaller than Erebus, with a higher density of enemies that do more damage or are just generally more annoying, like these guys that hide in their shells, and there are environmental hazards and traps everywhere. Despite only getting a couple of counter damage boons, which of course are useless to me as I simply do not get hit, ow, I made it all the way to the next boss.
Oh, no way. No way.
What the hell is going on?
Thank you, Oceanus! Into the night.
Now that I had Hecate's moveset downloaded, and a much better idea of what sort of boons I would and wouldn't need, getting back to Oceanus was light work. And not only did that mean I could gather new seeds and materials, you cannot convince me that this isn't cake, but it also unlocked new encounters.
Another would-be suitor journeyed far and wide just to gaze upon me. Not that I blame you.
Oh my god, he's just like me. I met Hermes, who told me I should get myself up to Olympus ASAP and then threw my parcel in a hedge. Chaos, who has the coolest design in the game, but a bunch of boons that don't really help me, and some grumpy old man, who I'm sure isn't relevant. Most importantly, I finally met the MVP boon giver of the run for the first time. Goddess of the Hearth, Hestia. Look, I know, For people doing high-level, fast-clear, high-fear runs, she's not great. But I was in no rush, and given my limited moveset, damage over time builds were perfect for me. I have to remind you, I'm not looking anything up while doing this. I have no idea about advanced strats, or even how to force specific boon combos. So, for my simple little monkey brain, she offers 2 boons that both carried me for the bulk of my runs. Smouldering has a massive advantage over something like Stormring, in that it damages every enemy inside the circle simultaneously and constantly, as well as applying the Scorch effect. Whilst Heat Rush is just kinda busted, as I'm sure my fellow YouTubers will agree.
It's a pretty bad sprint boon.
Okay, wow, unsubscribed. Seriously though, just run rings around everyone as they mysteriously melt.
There goes Arachne's suit.
Gimme that.
Something from Great Auntie Hestia.
Oh, yeah, remember this guy? Turns out it's my dear old Gramps. I told him to go to hell, he Uno reversed me. Ouch. Hot. Scylla is an interesting boss fight because of its gimmick. Scylla and the rest of her band play their own boss themes, plural, during your fights with them. Pretty cool. Except, I always record challenge run video footage with the game music turned off. So it was less Scylla and the Sirens, and more Scylla and the Silence.
How tasty!
If I was going to guess though, I reckon their boss theme probably sounds like this.
1, 2, 3.
We're so delicious, burbalicious, yeah, we're sexy and vicious. I'm ambitious, try to diss us, they'll sleep with the fishes. We got Scylla, she's a killer, plus there's Roxy and Jetty. We get all the boys sweaty, so you better be ready. Cause we're the Sirens, Scylla and the Sirens.
Whoa, no, that doesn't feel right. Maybe it's like this.
We're Scylla and the Sirens, we came to rock your boat. So don't mess with the Sirens, cause down here we all float. Scylla and the Sirens, we came to make a splash. So messing with the Sirens, that will be quite rash. Oi, 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 oi.
Yeah, no, it's definitely this. Yep, pretty sure I nailed that. Let me just check. Yeah, close enough. Beyond the Techi Trio lies the most chill section of the game, the Fields of Mourning. This consists of a series of larger areas, each with multiple rewards that all need to be unlocked to progress. Thing is, most of the rooms are so large, you can just run rings around everything. Side note, I don't remember Mike Tyson from Greek mythology, but yeah, sure. The boss here is such a good boy. Ow. Okay, maybe he needs a behaviour course or two. By now, I have finally figured out that standing in red equals bad and could get back here pretty easily, and on my next few runs I also found the following. Hera, whose binding cast boon isn't great, but this one that randomly takes one of your boons and makes it heroic is pretty neat. One of the funniest mini-bosses of the game. One of the most annoying mini-bosses of the game. Welcome back, Melania. And the MVP boon giver of the downstairs route, the nymph Echo, whose pom-pom-pom boon takes your strongest boon and doubles its power, which is pretty insane when you're focusing on a few boons only. Oh yeah, and on one run, Nemesis showed up to offer me more health in exchange for punching me in the face, which sounds like a win-win. I also tried Frigid Rush again just to make sure. Yep, still shit. Cerberus, for 'tis he, is actually one of the easiest fights once you figure him out. The main issue is he hits like a truck, or more accurately, like a gigantic hellish three-headed dog beast. But you can spend most of the fight running behind him and dropping circles on his not quite butt. This attack is a little annoying though, as sometimes you run out of safe ground to stand on and... Wait, how much damage?
I was beginning to think I had successfully dissuaded you. When it came to my attention, you were trespassing some other place instead. You dared venture above.
Remember I said there were 2 routes out of the crossroads? The path up to Olympus is initially blocked off, but you can perform some incantations to unlock it. Ah, fresh air at last. Just like London. Turns out there's also a curse I need to lift before I can spend any extended time on the surface, but at least I could do some death runs to collect materials. Although from here on in I started running both routes, I'm gonna focus on my lower route shenanigans first for neatness of storytelling. But that's all to say that with access to new stuff, I could get some useful upgrades. The Kindred Keepsakes incantation lets you swap out keepsakes after every area, which is super useful, and Consecration of Ashes unlocks the ability to upgrade your Arcana. So I upgraded Persistence, Swift Runner, and the Furies, which I keep misreading as something else. Oh, yeah, and I could also summon familiars now. Meh, I'll take big fat stacks of cash instead. Thanks!
Whatever gleams with gold shall soon be found.
I haven't mentioned weapons yet because, well, duh, but I had now unlocked the weapon aspects, special effects granted by the weapons when upgraded. Most of them are actually useless to me, but the axe gives more starting HP when you pick the Aspect of Mel upgrade path, so that's absolutely splendid. Plus, I like running around with a big ol' axe, even if it is just for show. Moros was digging my style and told me he secretly loves a bad bitch. I might be paraphrasing slightly. And I also crafted the hold the damn phone, there's a fishing minigame? Shut up and take my money, Supergiant.
This is a
Oh,
Styxian.
wait, you already did. The underworld route was now becoming very straightforward.
Might best be off.
Get one of the Binding Circle MVPs, rarify it like a good steak, collect poms for upgrades, stand and watch in amazement as Hecate liquefies before your very eyes, let Kronos shit talk you. I'm starting to like this guy. Try to get Hera's Boon to make your cast heroic, smear Scylla and her Sirens across the stage, hope to get Echo for a big power boost, pet the 3-headed dog, and onwards to the final area, Tartarus.
Cerberus, it's really you.
This place sucks. Lots of tanky annoying enemies, particularly these little laser shooting shits. You might notice that on this particular run I switched back to Stormring, just to test it again, and rooms like this are where it really falls flat. See, the lightning strikes only hit one enemy in the circle at a time, so it's great against bosses but kind of terrible against large groups of enemies. Still, it got me all the way to Kronos for the first time. I said, "Give me my house back, old man," and promptly wiped the floor with his first phase. And then, phase 2 happened, and he promptly wiped the floor with me. Or, should I say, he wiped me with the floor. Yeah, in hindsight, I probably should have stood inside the very obvious safe zone. Still, by now I knew exactly what boons I'd need for my build, and how to negotiate all the obstacles in my path. And combined with the fact I now had Death Defiance unlocked, basically a bunch of free revives, getting back to Grumpy Grampy was child's play, and I could smell victory in the air. Or maybe it was just the smell of my laundry basket. Regardless, here's how things went. Yeah, who needs to play perfectly when you have Death Defiance? Tanks a lot, Grandad. The thing about killing time, though, is you can't. Kronos could simply rewind time to reset the world, but in the meantime, I could use the magic mirror in my old chambers to look back into the past and talk to my brother, Zagreus, protagonist of the first game, in his dreams. He wasn't overly convinced that I was who I claimed to be, but with time at a premium, I promised him I'd be back to carry on the convo, and found myself back at the crossroads as if nothing had changed. Well, shit. At least I can rub it in Nemesis's stupid face.
I wasn't coming here to gloat. Okay. Should be able to head to the surface now.
Ugh, family gatherings, right? Gotta love hanging out with your creepy old uncle who dresses as a swan to perv on women. But sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet. With incantations cast to open the portal and dispel the curse, I was able to tackle the surface properly. And it was quickly obvious that things would be different here. For starters, the first area proper, the city of Aphera, introduces a whole new mechanic. Rather than progressing through a sequence of rooms, all available options are laid out on the table when you enter. In total, you need to clear 6 rooms to progress, but here's the problem. To do so, you need to kill the enemies, but also destroy these pylons in the rooms. And boons that activate on binding circle or dash simply don't do any damage to them. This meant that if I didn't find one of a few very specific boons in the first 2 areas, Heat Rush and Breaker Rush being the 2 best, I'd have to abort the run and restart. Still, Aphera does introduce you to one new boon giver, although they are technically curses, in the form of Medea, and she has one super useful boon that I would try to get for every surface run if available. Corrosion on Sight, which reduces enemy armor by 50% instantly, and given that some of the later zones are rammed full of tanky armored enemies, this is a godsend. A witch send? Whatever. Beyond the city is the first boss of the route, Polyphemus. He's just a big clumsy lump who wants to look after his sheep. Or eat his sheep. I don't know. After one obligatory head stamping due to me not knowing the fight and him doing a lot of damage, I figured out that he has the same weakness as most of these bosses. Standing still in a big fiery circle. Who knew? Next up is the Rift of Thessaly. It's actually a ship, but whatever. And while this can be a little annoying due to space restrictions and the large amount of exploding barrels, quick health and safety reminder that fire plus exploding barrels equals not good. It doesn't have any specific build requirements other than do big damage for the win. There are some more new characters you can meet in the world here, like Circe, who doesn't really give anything useful, and Icarus, who seems like a nice guy, I guess. There are also new mini-bosses, but I'm not going to give this load of rubbish any undeserved attention by actually talking about it. Oh, yeah, and this boon is pretty good if you can hold on to it until a boss fight. I also realised I had been sleeping hard on the Sea Star boon from Poseidon. What do you mean I have a chance to get double hearts or poms every time I go for them? That's kind of insane.
Do you miss me, Trouble?
Eris. I'd love you if you weren't such an irritating brat. Still, she's probably my favourite of the bosses in this game. At first, the fight's a little confusing. She's fast, zips around a lot, and does big damage, which only ramps up throughout the fight. But then you figure out that, just like a lot of the other bosses, her weakness is being taken from behind. Ancient Greece, huh? But, yeah, you can literally just drop a circle on her, then dance behind her. The only annoying thing about this fight is if she decides to go and stand in the burning oil pools with her back to the wall. But on the plus side, she never stays in one spot for long. Eat my Death Defiance, Eris. And pick up your goddamn trash.
Disgusting.
Olympus has definitely seen better days. This is probably my least favourite area to fight through because everything here is so damn tanky, especially these irritating goat-faced douchebags. And this is where Medea's corrosion on sight really shines, because armour is no joke in this game. I also met 2 new NPCs here. Dionysus, who is blissfully unaware of pretty much anything, and Athena, who can squish me anytime. The area boss here is Prometheus, you know, the one from the stories, not the crappy Aliens movie. And, for the most part, he's fairly straightforward, though it took my brain a little while to stop getting clipped by this circle attack. For everything else, the dodge behind and drop a circle strat works just fine. Until he did whatever the hell this is and broke my brain. Duly noted for next time.
There was no dignity in this at all.
With more of a game plan, it only took me 2 more runs to clear the upper route, and here's how. A clutch triple Hestia at the start meant I could get epic heat rush, rare smouldering, and glowing coal, a boon that lets you throw your binding circle, causing an explosion. Medea didn't have corrosion on site this time, but Malice in Kind turned out to be an absolute saviour for the final fight, as I had a bunch of Death Defiance by now. I also took Aphrodite's Glamour Gain, which ended up being insanely useful, but more on that soon. Polyphemus was child's play by now. Glowing Coal turned out to be really helpful for targeting Eris when she stands in oil pools. Don't mind me taking a full round to the face there, it's fine. Prometheus was still messy, but I'd been focusing on getting hearts, so I had a load of HP, as well as multiple Death Defiances, and it was on to the final area, the summit. Yeah, this place is also stinky cheeks, and you get the joy of not one atrocious mini-boss, but 2!
I hate Spawn of Typhon, I hate Spawn of Typhon, I hate Spawn of... Ah!
The tail boss is actually pretty easy, so I made it through first attempt with no problems. Oh my god. Fortunately, I got a food drop from Hermes immediately afterwards, and spent my triple pom reward on upgrading Smouldering some more.
Better.
Typhon is a little bit like raw, and then he's all like raw, with a little bit of I'm firing my laser thrown in for good measure. All of which is to say, he's like 7 tons of manure piled on top of a rotting corpse clutching a copy of Kid Rock's greatest hits. Ideally, I'd want to stay right up in his face to damage him, especially since standing there makes his laser completely miss you. But this slam attack he does is so hard to avoid if you're close, and he does a lot of damage. The good news is that a little earlier in the run, I had unlocked the absolute god boon for this, a duo boon called Burning Desire, offered to me by Aphrodite and Hestia. See, Glamour Gain applies the weak status to nearby enemies, and Burning Desire makes it so that any enemies afflicted by Scorch don't stop burning for as long as the weak status is applied, which in practice means if you scorch something and then run around close to it, this happens. Holy! At the midpoint of the fight, Zeus shows up to give off some strong I'm helping energy and throw a few token lightning bolts, which just makes Typhon angry enough to go into his random nonsense phase. I'm not a fan of this fight. Like, seriously, what is even going on at this point? Still, if you can't beat them, then just go into the fight with a bunch of Death Defiance and beat them anyway.
So bright.
So, this is how the other half live, huh? Thanks for the help, guys. Not sure why you couldn't have just done all that yourselves, but oh well. The bad news was, in order to stop Kronos resetting time and end him and Typhon for good, I'd need to kill them both a bunch more times in order to make plans with past Zag and complete the relevant incantations. By now, however, I knew exactly what boons to hope for to make things easy. Smouldering or Storm Ring for Binding Circle. Heat Rush ideally, or Breaker Rush as a decent backup. Glamour Gain if available to try and get the duo boon again. High Surf from Poseidon for some nice passive counter damage. Supernova for expanding casts. And Perfect Image for a nice damage bonus, both from Apollo. One of either Pom 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 or Corrosion on sight, depending on which route I was taking. And, if I could get hold of it, Air Quality. This boon is actually kinda cracked for my build, because any damage number that would normally be less than 50 gets bumped up to 50, which doesn't sound like much, but on things like Heat Rush, that means 50 per tick. With some variation of the above, plus any other useful boons like faster sprint or increased dodge chance, Hecate, Polyphemus, and the rest of the gang all melted like a chocolate butt plug, and I could Groundhog Day my way through the decisive duo, a little like so. Killing the twosome multiple times served a dual purpose. Firstly, I'd need the materials to perform 2 incantations. One which would ensure Typhon would remain dead for good, for which I'd need Zagreus to leave me a spear in his chambers, and one to stop Kronos rewinding time, for which I'd need some bits of a fully dead Typhon. With everything obtained and the Dissolution of Time incantation cast, the only thing left to do was to finish Kronos off. It's time to show time what time it is.
Phase 1. Fight. Phase 2. Fight. Phase 3. Fight.
Wait, what do you mean Phase 3? What is this nonsense? Luckily, the devs give you infinite death defiances for this phase, so even if you play it with all the grace of Humpty Dumpty falling off a wall, like I did, you'll be fine.
Impossible.
With that done, it was over. Kronos was dead and... just kidding, we don't do family like that. Instead, past Zag found past Kronos, convinced him that imprisoning his own relatives might not actually be the best idea, irrevocably altering the timeline in order to free my parents and give me my home back, and I had beaten Hades too with boon damage only. Simple stuff really, and what was more amazing was I didn't even die once, as the lovely Scylla and her Sirens can demonstrate here. Take it away, girls!
We're malicious, so ambitious, you can bring your militias and take your shot, but if you miss us, you get rinsed like the dishes. Bring your sons and